I used to think I was good at multitasking, genuinely good. The kind of person who could be on a call, answer emails, skim a report, and feel proud that nothing was slipping, that I was operating at some higher level of efficiency. Until I read a study from Stanford that quietly destroyed that illusion. Because they took people who multitasked constantly, people who lived inside 5 tabs and 3 conversations at once, and they compared them to people who rarely multitasked at all. And logic says the heavy multitaskers should be better because practice makes perfect. Except the results came back inverted. The heavy multitaskers were worse at filtering distractions, worse at switching between tasks, worse at holding information in memory, worse on every single metric that measured how well a brain handles complexity. And the most unsettling part was this: the people who multitasked the most were also the most confident that they were good at it, which meant the more damaged your attention became, the less able you were to notice it. And that was the moment I realized that if I felt productive all the time, it did not mean I was effective. It meant I was blind. So I started digging, not into productivity hacks, not into time management tricks, but into the brain itself. Because if something feels so natural, yet fails so completely, the explanation has to be neurological. And what I found is the reason your mind jumps when you try to focus is not weakness, it is architecture. Because your brain does not have a multitasking engine, it has a spotlight, a single beam of attention that illuminates one mental object at a time, and everything else goes dark. And when you think you're multitasking, you're not doing 2 things at once. You are switching that spotlight back and forth so fast that it creates the illusion of simultaneity. But each switch comes with a cost. Neuroscientists call it context switching, and every time your brain switches from one task to another, it has to unload the previous mental model and load a new one, like closing one file and opening another. And that loading process is not free. It burns glucose, it consumes oxygen, it increases neural noise, and it leaves behind residue from the last task that contaminates the next one. So when you move from writing to answering a phone call to checking your inbox, you do not reset, you accumulate cognitive friction. And after enough switches, your working memory shrinks, your emotional control drops, and your ability to think clearly collapses. Not because you are lazy, but because your brain is overloaded with half-finished thoughts. This is why modern work feels like drowning even when nothing is technically hard. Because the difficulty is not the tasks, it is the fragmentation. You are never allowed to fully think anything through. You are constantly interrupted mid-idea, and every interruption leaves a small crack in your attention. And those cracks add up until focus itself becomes painful. So you scroll, you check messages, you open new tabs, not because you want to, but because sustained thought now feels heavy, and the brain always chooses the path of least resistance. And here is where the lie deepens, because the more you fragment your attention, the more you feel busy. And the more busy you feel, the more productive you believe you are. But busyness is not output, it is motion without direction. And meetings are the perfect example, because they feel important. There are faces, voices, agendas, but neurologically, they are attention shredders. They force your brain to hold multiple perspectives, interruptions, and social signals at once, while preventing any single thought from reaching depth. Email does the same thing in a quieter way, because every unread message is an open loop, and your brain hates open loops. It keeps them active in working memory, whispering for closure, pulling attention even when you are not reading them, which means every inbox you carry is a background process draining cognitive energy. And when you check it, you are not clearing the noise, you are refreshing it, because new loops appear instantly. This is what no productivity guru tells you. The true cost of modern work is not hours, it is clarity. You are not tired because you worked too much,
You are tired because your brain was never allowed to finish a thought. An unfinished thought is exhausting.
Now, imagine a computer with hundreds of tabs open, not because each tab is heavy, but because each one is waiting, demanding resources, slowing everything down. That is what your mind looks like after a day of multitasking. And no amount of coffee fixes that, because caffeine does not close tabs. It just makes the fan spin faster. And this is why the Stanford result is so terrifying, because the people who multitask the most are the ones who feel the most confident. They are the least aware of their own degradation, because attention damage reduces self-monitoring. You become worse and less able to tell that you are worse. So the system self-reinforces. You feel scattered, so you multitask more. You multitask more, so you become more scattered, and you call it being busy.
Every interruption is a small loan taken from your future clarity. And like financial debt, it feels harmless at first, until the interest compounds and suddenly you are paying just to stay still. And once you see this, you start noticing the invisible architecture of distraction everywhere, in the way apps are designed to pull you out of flow, in the way workplaces equate responsiveness with competence, in the way being always available becomes a moral virtue, even though it destroys the very thing that makes thinking valuable, which is depth.
The tragedy is that humans did not evolve for this. Your brain evolved to focus on one complex problem at a time, to think deeply, and when you deny it that, it rebels with anxiety, fatigue, and mental fog, not as a failure, but as a warning. The question is not how to do more, it is how to think better, how to protect attention the way you protect money, how to reduce cognitive debt instead of constantly borrowing against it.
So here's what's actually happening when you try to multitask. You're rapidly switching between tasks. Every switch costs you time and cognitive resources. Attention residue from previous tasks contaminates your current task. Your working memory is fragmented. Your error rate increases. Your IQ temporarily drops. You're training your brain to be distractible. You're depleting your attentional budget at an accelerated rate. You're producing shallow work that you barely remember creating, and at the end of the day, you're mentally exhausted from task switching, physiologically stressed from constant error detection, and you've accomplished less than if you just focused on one thing at a time. You didn't multitask. Multitasking is neurologically impossible. You task switched badly, and it cost you everything.